My neighbor and I had been fighting for years over his overgrown trees and shrubs. But recently he started acting even stranger than usual. Knocked on my door one night, asking to come inside. When I turned him down, he began shouting and making threats. It all started about 2 months ago, when I was gardening in my backyard. One of the branches from my neighbor's oak tree fell down during the storm, and it landed right on my vegetable garden. It was huge and heavy and destroyed half of my garden. Although we have never had the best relationship with our neighbors, we always managed to solve our problems amicably until this time. They just ignored the problem and acted like nothing happened. I didn't want to let it go, so I decided to take matters into my own hands. I called the city hall and told them what had happened. An inspector came out to see it and told me that the tree was my neighbor's responsibility. He gave me the number of the tree department and told me they would contact me soon. It took them a few days to respond, but eventually someone from the tree department called me to schedule the cleanup. I was happy because I couldn't wait for my neighbor to take care of it himself. The workers arrived exactly on time the next day and quickly set to work. They trimmed the damaged branch and cleaned up the mess. A few days later, I got the bill for the cleanup, and it was for $346. I tried calling my neighbor, but he kept ignoring my calls. Since he wouldn't talk to me, I decided to pay him a visit. "Hi there," I said as I handed him the bill. "Do you mind paying your share, which is half of that amount?" His eyes narrowed as he looked at the bill. "I'm not paying you a penny. What are you talking about? A tree fell on my property and the one who didn't take care of it. You seem to have misunderstood something. That tree has been here long before you bought this house, and it's my tree, not yours. So you should be thanking me for not suing you for destroying it." For a moment, I just stared at him in disbelief. I couldn't believe he was trying to shift the blame onto me. "That's ridiculous. You know very well that you're responsible for the trees on your property. If you don't do anything about it, then the city will do it for you, and you will end up paying double. So it's better you pay me now, or you can expect a much bigger bill later." I shook my head. "You sound like a broken record." "No, I'm not paying you." He walked away without another word. I knew it wasn't going to be easy to get my money back, but I wasn't giving up. I went back to my house and wrote down everything that happened, including the date and time. Then I went to the city hall and filed a complaint against my neighbor. This time an officer from the neighborhood department contacted me. He listened to my story and told me he would look into it. A few days later, he called me and told me that my neighbor had already been fined for not taking care of the tree. The fine was only $200, and I was furious. What is that supposed to cover? Half of my garden is destroyed and the bill alone costs $346. The officer apologized, but he said there was nothing more he could do about it. "Why don't you just drop it? It's obvious that you were both at fault." I was shocked. "What are you talking about?" "The tree fell on my property, and he didn't even bother to apologize or offer to pay for the damages." The officer sighed. "Look, I understand that you're upset, but sometimes people just need to learn their lesson the hard way." I couldn't believe what he had just said. How dare he tell me to just forget about it? This wasn't some minor issue. It was my neighbor's responsibility to take care of the tree, and he had failed to do so. Plus, he was acting like this was my fault somehow. I refused to accept his apology and hung up the phone. But I wasn't done yet. I was determined to get my neighbor to pay for what he had done. But unfortunately, he was already gone. His house was empty. He had sold it and moved somewhere else. It was only a month later when my new neighbors moved in, and they seemed nice enough. But I still hadn't forgotten about what my old neighbor had done to me. I sat in my backyard one evening thinking about how I could get my revenge. And that est when I noticed that the roots of the oak tree were starting to lift up my patio. I went to my attic and pulled out the box with old photos and videos. There was one photo that stood out. It was a picture of my late mother standing in front of the tree. She loved that tree so much that she planted it herself 50 years ago. She passed away 20 years ago, and I missed her every day. I went to my computer and uploaded the photo to a local historical society. They told me the tree had been planted in 1972 by my mother, a local school teacher. And it was a gift from the local tree tenders club, which was very active in those days. I smiled as I read about my mother's good deed all those years ago. She had been gone for so long that I had forgotten about her and the impact she had made on other people. But now I realized that it wasn't just a tree. It was a living memorial of my mother. I called the city hall and asked to speak to the tree warden. He was busy when I called, so I left a message explaining why I was calling. The next morning, the tree warden knocked on my door. He was a tall, thin man with a friendly face and a neatly trimmed beard. "Hello?" he said with a smile. "I received your message about the oak tree in your backyard. Is there a problem?" "No, no problem," I lied. "I just wanted to remind you about the Tree Tenders Club and the history of the tree." "Well, yes, of course," he said, nodding his head. "They have been gone for decades, but we still remember their good work." "Right, so you won't be doing anything about the roots, I presume. We don't usually interfere with the roots unless they cause damage." "Well, they are causing damage. As you can see, the patio is starting to crack." I see." He looked at the roots for a moment. "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." The next day, several men from the tree department arrived at my house. They dug up the roots and replaced the patio. While they were working, I talked to the tree warden about the history of the Tree Tenders Club and the oak tree. He told me that there were still a few members left, and they were planning to hold their annual meeting in the park next weekend. "I would love to attend the meeting and maybe meet the remaining members," I said. "Sure, why not? It would be an honor for us if you could come and tell us about your mother." On Saturday, I went to the park to meet the tree tenders. It was a beautiful day, and the park was full of people. I found the group sitting under the shade of a large oak tree. There were only 5 of them left, but they were all very friendly and welcoming. We sat down in a circle, and I told them about my mother and the tree. I also told them about my neighbor and the damage that had been done to my garden. The group listened attentively, and when I finished speaking, one of the members broke the silence. "We are very sorry to hear about your neighbor and the damage that was done to your garden. We would like to make amends for what happened. Thank you, but it's really not necessary." "No, we insist." After the meeting, they all signed a check for $500 and handed it to me. "Here, please use this to repair your garden." I couldn't believe it. These strangers had heard my story and wanted to help me. "Thank you so much. Really appreciate it," I said. As I watched them walk away, I realized that my mother would have been proud of me. She had taught me the importance of helping others and standing up for what is right. And now these strangers had shown me the true meaning of kindness and compassion.